I don't care how technically brilliant you are in your field, you don't understand people. You're going to neutralize all of your powers. Robert Greene. Today I'm going to summarize another book from Robert Greene titled The Laws of Human Nature. Have you ever wondered why some individuals seem to sabotage themselves repeatedly, while others effortlessly influence those around them? In today's video, we're exploring The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, a compelling guide that uncovers the unseen forces shaping human behavior. This book offers practical strategies to understand both ourselves and others. Whether you want to overcome personal barriers or gain insight into social dynamics, there's a lot to unpack, so let's dive in. Law 1. The Law of Irrationality. The emotional mind is like a ship caught in a storm, constantly shifting its course, whereas the rational mind is the steady hand steering it. You might think you're fully in control, making decisions based solely on logic, but in reality, your emotions are more powerful than you might realize. They shape your reactions, distort your perception of reality, and often drive choices that may not serve your best interests. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to think clearly when you're angry, stressed, or scared? This is because of how your brain is structured. Think of it as an old machine with some new components layered on top. At its core, there's the reptilian brain, the most ancient part that only cares about survival, governing your basic automatic responses like fear. Then there's the limbic system, your emotional brain, where feelings like anger, pleasure, and anxiety originate. It reacts much faster than your logical brain, which is why emotions often take over before you even notice. Finally, you have the neocortex, the shiny new part of your brain that houses rational thought, problem-solving, and logic. It's what makes us human. However, it's slower than your emotional brain. By the time your neocortex starts weighing the options, your emotions may have already decided for you. This disconnect between your emotional and rational brains is why cognitive biases occur. Your emotions hijack your logic. And before you know it, you're caught in confirmation bias, only seeking information that aligns with your feelings, or falling into groupthink, where you start adopting the opinions of the crowd. The good news? The more you understand how your brain works, the better you can catch these biases in action. To become truly rational, you must first recognize when emotions are in control. When you notice yourself reacting instead of thinking, ask, what's really driving this decision? For example, why do you scroll through social media for hours even when you know it's not productive? Once you identify the emotion, trace it to its roots. Understanding why you feel a certain way is essential to breaking the cycle. Then, slow things down. When you feel a surge of emotion, whether frustration, fear, or temptation, step back and take a moment to breathe. This pause allows your rational mind to catch up and guide you to a more thoughtful decision. By becoming aware of your emotions, understanding their triggers, and creating space before you act, you can bring balance between your emotional and rational selves and make decisions that move you forward. The law of narcissism, constantly seeking validation from others, puts you on a never-ending path that can lead to self-destructive behaviors. Ever find yourself scrolling through social media, silently comparing your life to others, or getting frustrated when you're not the center of attention? This could be a sign of underlying narcissism. We all have narcissistic tendencies. The question is not if you're a narcissist, but how deep into the spectrum you fall. On one end, you have the deep narcissist, entirely self-absorbed, seeking attention and validation as a way to mask insecurity. These individuals often deal with rage, a fragile ego, and a constant need for praise. On the healthier end, we find the balanced narcissist. They still enjoy attention, but are capable of focusing on others too. The goal isn't to eliminate self-focus, it's impossible, but to shift toward a healthy form of narcissism that balances self-care with empathy for others. How do you make this shift? First, recognize narcissism in yourself. Ask yourself, do I dominate conversations? Do I get upset when I'm not the focus? Do I react strongly to criticism? These signs could mean your self-love is tipping into toxic territory. Next, turn your attention outward. Practice real empathy. Don't assume you know others' feelings. Listen deeply. Each person is like an undiscovered world with their own unique experiences. Pay attention to body language, tone, and emotional state. Also, take daily steps to build empathy. One way is by engaging more in in-person conversations, stepping away from screens that can amplify our narcissism. Online, it's easy to get caught up in how others see us. In person, you have a better chance to connect genuinely. Lastly, recognize when others are showing narcissistic traits. Don't take the bait. Trying to change them is a losing game. Instead, set boundaries, understand their need for attention, and don't get caught up emotionally. The law of role-playing. Everyone wears a mask, and the more someone wants to hide, the more deeply they engage in role-playing. Why do we all wear masks? Because we want to present ourselves in the best light, from polished Instagram profiles to carefully worded resumes. But beneath these facades, we unconsciously reveal our true selves through subtle cues. Masks help people fit into various social contexts. By adjusting behavior and presentation, we adapt to different situations. Personal relationships, professional settings, or public appearances. Masks can also serve as a defense, like projecting an image of success to mask underlying self-doubt. However, to see through these masks, you need to be keenly observant. Start by watching for nonverbal cues. Notice inconsistencies between what someone says and how their body moves, like crossed arms when speaking confidently. Also, note changes in tone or pitch, which might signal nervousness or deception. Establish a baseline by observing people in calm settings, then see how they act under pressure. Understanding these variations helps you see behind the mask. And don't forget your own masks. Be mindful of how you present yourself and recognize your own biases. The law of compulsive behavior character is revealed not through grand actions, but through repeated behaviors over time. Your core character, shaped early in life, stays mostly fixed. But knowing your character allows you to work with it rather than against it. For example, if you naturally seek approval, managing a team may be challenging, but roles requiring diplomacy might suit you perfectly. People's patterns, not their words, show who they really are. Spot these patterns in both yourself and others. Are you consistent, resilient, or do you avoid responsibility? These traits become clear when observed over time. For example, a person might emphasize the importance of honesty, but often manipulates the truth to suit their agenda. This contradiction arises from unresolved conflicts within themselves, indicating the presence of a shadow aspect they haven't fully acknowledged. Repression of desires. If someone consistently denies their desires or feelings, they may eventually erupt in unexpected ways. This can be seen in people who put on a facade of being overly selfless, but suddenly lash out or indulge in excessive behaviors when their needs become too overwhelming. The more we push down these desires, the stronger they become, ultimately leading to behaviors that are at odds with our conscious intentions. Unexplained outbursts. Occasional emotional outbursts that seem to come out of nowhere, whether anger, sadness, or jealousy, are a sign that a person has repressed feelings boiling under the surface. These emotions tend to show up in extreme situations or when a person feels threatened, often catching them and others off guard. Projection. We often criticize or judge others for traits we secretly dislike about ourselves. This is known as projection. For example, someone who frequently calls others lazy may be trying to suppress their own fear of laziness or inadequacy. By understanding and owning these projections, we can gain insight into our unresolved issues. Self-sabotage. People might unknowingly undermine their own efforts through procrastination, substance abuse, or avoiding opportunities for growth. These behaviors are signs of deeper conflicts and unresolved emotions that manifest as self-destructive patterns. Hypersensitivity. When someone reacts intensely to seemingly minor events or criticism, it could indicate unresolved issues being triggered. For instance, if a person becomes extremely defensive when criticized, it might be because that critique hits a nerve related to a suppressed fear or insecurity. To integrate our shadow and gain control over it, Green advises: self-awareness. Begin by acknowledging the existence of the shadow within you. This involves taking an honest look at your hidden desires, contradictory behaviors, and repressed emotions. Embrace the uncomfortable. Face the aspects of yourself that you find unpleasant or difficult to accept. Instead of denying or avoiding them, work on integrating these elements into your conscious self. Channel the energy. Find constructive outlets for expressing your shadow. This could be through creative pursuits, physical activities, or even honest conversations about your struggles and emotions. Examine your projections. When you find yourself reacting strongly to someone else's behavior, ask yourself if it's a reflection of something you dislike or fear within yourself. By recognizing these projections, you can reclaim your power and reduce the negative impact of your shadow on your life. Understanding and embracing your shadow side isn't about indulging in negative behaviors. It's about accepting that we all have darker impulses and learning to manage them consciously, rather than letting them control us from the background. The law of envy. Envy is a powerful emotion that can sabotage our relationships, success, and well-being if left unchecked. It often operates under the surface, influencing our thoughts and actions in subtle yet destructive ways. Green suggests that the key to managing envy is first to acknowledge it rather than deny it. Recognizing envy in ourselves. Negative commentary. If you find yourself consistently belittling or undermining others' successes, it may be a sign of envy. Schadenfreude. Taking pleasure in someone else's failure or misfortune is a clear indicator of underlying envy. Constant comparison. When you measure your own achievements or self-worth against others, envy may be driving these thoughts. Overcoming envy. Reframe your perspective. Instead of viewing others' success as a threat, see it as inspiration. Ask yourself what you can learn from them and how you can apply those lessons to your own life. Practice gratitude. Cultivating gratitude for what you have reduces the focus on what you lack, which is at the core of envy. Focus on self-improvement. Shift your energy away from comparison and competition and towards self-betterment. When you're focused on your own growth, envy loses its power. By recognizing envy in ourselves and consciously redirecting it, we can transform a destructive emotion into a source of motivation and self-awareness. The law of grandiosity. Grandiosity is the feeling of superiority or exaggerated self-importance that can lead to risky, irrational decisions. When a person feels untouchable, they tend to ignore warning signs in the perspectives of others, which can lead to a fall from grace. Signs of grandiosity: overestimating one's abilities, believing you're infallible and disregarding the input of others. A need for constant praise, becoming dependent on others, admiration and feeling threatened when it's not forthcoming. Taking unnecessary risks, making bold, reckless decisions out of a sense of invincibility. Managing grandiosity. Stay grounded. Regularly remind yourself of past mistakes and failures to maintain a balanced perspective on your abilities. Seek honest feedback. Surround yourself with people who aren't afraid to tell you the truth and challenge your ideas. Focus on purpose, not ego. Channel your ambitions into meaningful goals rather than feeding your ego. Ask yourself, am I doing this for the right reasons or to prove something to others? Understanding grandiosity and keeping it in check is crucial for maintaining stability and long-term success. The law of gender roles. Human behavior is deeply influenced by societal and cultural expectations of gender roles. These roles can limit our potential and trap us in behaviors that feel unnatural or restrictive. Overcoming these limitations involves embracing both the masculine and feminine aspects of our nature. By integrating these qualities, assertiveness with empathy, strength with vulnerability, you can become a more complete individual, free from the rigid constraints of gender norms. For instance, a politician may advocate for transparency while covertly accepting bribes. Emotional outbursts can characterize someone who, despite appearing calm, reacts in anger to minor provocations. These reactions might indicate suppressed emotions surfacing, revealing hidden personality aspects. Vehement denial often occurs when people criticize behaviors in others that they secretly struggle with themselves. For example, someone who vocally opposes addiction may secretly contend with their own addictive behaviors. This denial serves to conceal personal struggles by projecting them outward. Over-idealization can lead those who promote high moral standards to become corrupt once they gain power. Accidental behavior, influenced by alcohol or intense stress, may cause individuals to inadvertently disclose their true thoughts and feelings, emotions they have worked diligently to hide. Projection manifests when someone accuses others of traits they themselves possess but refuse to recognize. For instance, a person who frequently labels others as manipulative or selfish may be guilty of those very behaviors, using projection to divert attention from their own flaws and repress darker impulses. We often adopt certain personas or exaggerated traits to disguise our true selves. Recognizing these characteristics in yourself and others can help reveal what lies beneath the surface. Robert Greene identifies 7 traits commonly adopted to navigate social interactions and protect one's authentic self. In our exploration of the shadow aspects of our personalities, we highlighted several key personas that often mask our true selves. The tough guy projects aggression and bravado to hide vulnerability and fear, using a hostile exterior to shield against feelings of weakness. The saint presents an image of purity and moral superiority, but risks becoming corrupt when power is attained. The fanatic demonstrates extreme dedication to a cause, seeking approval through obsessive commitment, yet often overpromises and underdelivers due to insecurities. The passive-aggressive charmer seems overly friendly, yet engages in gossip and manipulation behind the scenes, masking a fear of conflict. The rigid rationalist wields intellect as a weapon, dismissing emotional responses to avoid confronting their own vulnerabilities. Snobs project an air of superiority driven by a fear of mediocrity, hiding deep insecurities that lead to harsh judgments of others. The extreme entrepreneur is fixated on independence and attention to detail, appearing as a perfectionist, but struggles to delegate, revealing a hidden desire for support. Ignoring these shadows only allows them to grow stronger. By confronting and integrating our shadow selves, we can reclaim our full identities, transforming dark impulses into sources of strength and creativity. To effectively confront your shadow, start by identifying moments of defensiveness or insecurity. These feelings often signal its presence. Reflect on situations where your actions contradict your public persona or lead to shame. This is where your shadow lies. Don't resist these darker impulses. Accept them as integral parts of your complex humanity. Acknowledging your shadow disarms its negative influence. Remember, you cannot control what you refuse to recognize. Investigate your shadow's desires and ask yourself what you truly fear or what you might be hiding from. Allow your shadow to work for you, especially in the face of criticism. Assert yourself without guilt, as this is your shadow protecting your interests. Sometimes, the shadow needs to assert itself, using anger to defend boundaries or assertiveness to stand up for what's right. Embrace the strength that comes from your shadow, but be mindful of when and how you express it. Always aim to use it constructively, not destructively. Thank you for watching. In this video, we explored the first 9 laws from the laws of human nature, all focused on mastering ourselves. Next week, we'll shift our focus to understanding others and how we can use this knowledge to succeed in the social realm. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated. See you next time.